Sagawa Issei, the murderer, has demon in the mind and a blood-soaked suitcase. Surely, you must have heard about some murder cases, terrifying indeed, but it becomes even more gruesome and chilling when the murderer not only takes a life but also consumes the flesh of the victim. At least in the end, the murderer will have to face a deserved punishment. Today, I will share with you another case where this individual devoured his lover like a meal. His actions were not driven by jealousy or anything like that. Rather, he was inherently a person with very abnormal thoughts. Interestingly, after everything was discovered, he did not face any legal consequences. That's why it became a shocking and outrageous case in both Japan and France at the end of the 20th century. Today's video will be about Sagawa Issei, a Japanese murderer. In 1981, he gained notoriety as the Kobe Cannibal, when he took the life of his lover, a girl named Renee Hartevelt, and consumed her flesh. Strangely, to this day, he can still roam the streets of Japan without facing any legal consequences. Sagawa Issei was born on April 26, 1949, in Hyogo Ward, Kobe, Japan, into an affluent and powerful family. Described as a short figure, standing at 1.51 meters and weighing only 45 kilograms. After his deeds were exposed, he published a book called In the Fog. In this book, he narrated that he had a desire to consume human flesh since childhood, enjoying when his uncle played the role of a monster, and he would be the one to defeat the monster and consume its flesh. Furthermore, he would force his younger brother into a large pot, pretending to cook him and then eat him. His deranged thoughts were also reflected in the stories he read, fairy tales related to cannibalism. At the age of 15, Issei had to see a psychiatrist because his parents were concerned about his behavior. However, it seemed futile, as he became more withdrawn and isolated. After graduating high school with good academic performance, he was sent to study in France at Simon University in Paris by his family. This became the place where he fulfilled his intense desire to taste the flesh of his own kind. Shortly after arriving in France, Issei quickly befriended Renee Hartevelt, a Dutch student in the same class. To get closer, Issei asked Renee to be his tutor, and he spent money generously to win her affection, often inviting the 25-year-old girl to art exhibitions and concerts. Issei tried to write tender love letters, hoping that Renee Hartevelt would accept him. Gradually, he gained her trust. On one evening in June 1981, Issei invited his girlfriend to dinner at his place, intending to act on his dark desires towards Renee for the first time, but he failed. A week later, on June 11, 1981, he successfully shot his girlfriend from behind with a newly purchased gun from Paris. After being arrested, Issei admitted that initially he had intended to call for medical help, but then he changed his mind, deciding to fulfill his lifelong dream. After dismembering the woman's body and storing a large amount in the refrigerator for gradual consumption over 3 days, Issei packed the remaining parts into a suitcase and threw it into a park to dispose of. A taxi took Issei to a park with a small pond. While trying to find a place to dispose of the woman's body in Bois de Boulogne Park, a witness happened to see blood oozing from the suitcase and reported it to the French police. On July 17, 1981, Sagawa Issei was arrested, and during police interrogation, he showed no remorse or fear. He confessed to his crime, citing his motive as, "I wanted to eat her." Issei awaited his official trial for 2 years, during which he was held in a prison in France. However, to the dismay of the French and Japanese public, due to his family's influence, Issei was assisted by a highly skilled French lawyer named Jean-Louis Bruguière. During the trial, this lawyer presented enough evidence to show that Issei had neurological issues and was not fit to stand trial. As a result, all charges against him were dismissed, and he was ordered to be indefinitely held in a mental facility. Shortly afterward, Sagawa Issei was deported to Japan. Ideally, he should have been held in a psychiatric hospital as ruled by the court. However, the French legal documents were sealed and could not be disclosed to Japanese authorities because the French authorities considered the case closed. Therefore, Japanese authorities could not access the case files from France, lacking enough evidence to arrest Sagawa Issei. As a result, Sagawa was never brought to trial. They had to declare him innocent on August 12, 1986, and he remained free until his death. However, in Japan, authorities claimed that Sagawa had no mental issues, stating that his only problem was an abnormal personality, and he did not need hospitalization. But the story doesn't end here. Shortly after returning to Japan, he became a celebrity by publishing detailed accounts of his crimes. Sagawa did not hide his crimes and even use them to make money. He wrote a memoir novel titled In the Fog, where he vividly recalled the murder. He boasted of his infamous deeds, claiming that his books sold up to 200,000 copies. Issei thought of himself as a pioneer, someone who could do things others couldn't. However, he was mistaken because people were interested in him out of curiosity and self-interest. The murder also became the theme of the novel Letters from Sagawa by Japanese novelist Juro Kara, winning the country's most prestigious literary award in 1982. Despite the gruesome details of the murder and Sagawa's lack of remorse, he became famous, regularly giving interviews to the domestic and international media in the years after returning to Japan. Almost 10 years later, in 1997, he started facing criticism from the media and cold shouldering from publishers who were tired of his information and repetitive stories. Issei dared to use his real name to apply for a teaching position at a Japanese French language school. But of course, no principal would hire a murderer in an educational environment. In 2005, Sagawa Issei's parents passed away, and his relatives banned him from attending the funeral of his biological parents, later expelling him from the family line. Without money and employment, Issei was forced to live in a small, rundown apartment and survive day by day with financial assistance.
However, not long after, his financial aid was also cut, forcing Issei to move in with his brother in Tokyo. At the age of 72, he was plagued by numerous illnesses. In 2018, a media outlet interviewed Issei and his brother. The brother asked Issei a question. "I'm your older brother. Would you eat my flesh?" Sagawa Issei responded with a vacant and cold stare, not answering his brother's question. Sagawa passed away from pneumonia on November 24th in a hospital in Tokyo, and only close relatives attended the funeral, according to his younger brother and a friend of the man.
This is Creep Factor. Thank you for taking the time to watch the entire video. And if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more interesting contents.